We either doing it or you're just going to shut up about it for the next 2 years. Hello everyone, welcome to The Deep Drop. This is a fishing podcast, and if you're new here, welcome. It's great to have you here. My name's Luke McCredden, and Adam Ring is with me as always. And Ads, for the new people on board, let's give them a rundown. What the hell is The Deep Drop all about, please?
The Deep Drop is everything in fishing that you wouldn't normally hear about or that you don't hear commonly discussed. So for those that are new, Luke and I have worked in the fishing industry in various parts, from on-the-floor tackle shop to wholesale to big box to everything. We've had a crack at a little bit of everything. So we've had a lot of conversations along the journey, and there's a lot of interesting, funny, informative, not all the time 100% entirely true, some cold hard fact, everything.
Yeah.
So we thought, why don't we start a podcast and talk about all of the things that we talk about on a daily basis? Because you and I do talk pretty well every day.
Yep.
And just share some of our experiences, share some of our knowledge, but also share some of the questions that you wouldn't normally hear, but you think of every single time you go fishing.
It's fishing, it's road trips, it's sitting around a campfire, it's out in the boat, it's wading a river. Those conversations, you know you've had them. We all have. And sometimes they're weird and wacky, but you just go with it. And that's where we go with it. We have a bit of fun, mate. This is what it's all about. This is the greatest pastime in the world, and we're lucky enough to be in it. And we just want to share with you some of our weird and wonderful thoughts and get you involved. And that's the most important part. Adam, some of my favourite moments of the Deep Drop have come from people sending messages, voice messages, whatever it is, on Instagram, is sharing their experience of what we've spoken about, and that's what it's all about. So for new people, welcome. Great to have you on board. For anyone who's been along this wild journey with us so far, great to have you back. Thanks for coming along for the ride. It's an absolute treat to have you here. This is what it's all about. It's not just you and I, Ads. It is the entire Deep Drop family listening from your car, wherever you are. It's all you guys. So thank you very much. And we're having a ball.
We are, and if you want to get involved in the conversation, head over to Instagram. That's where we post all of the questions that we pose to the listeners out there on a weekly basis. So head on over to Instagram, and as Luke mentioned earlier, you can get involved in any way that you feel comfortable with. You can post messages directly to the Instagram threads. You can DM, you can send voice messages. Whatever you want to do, do it.
Do it.
Because we try and lay the foundation for you to come up with your own answer. We'll always give you our opinion. We'll answer them. Sometimes they're not right. Sometimes they're spot on.
Yeah.
But where this podcast comes into its own is from your feedback and the reasons and answers that you have to our questions. So please keep them coming.
I want to get straight into the show tonight, Ads, with a message or a series of messages from Nick on Instagram. So thank you for sending this through. So last week we spoke amongst other things about most memorable non-captures ads now, which sounds a bit weird to read on an Instagram tile, but we've all had them. We've all had moments where we've dropped a fish, been busted off, bitten off, dropped it, whatever it is.
In spectacular fashion.
The
ones you can't forget. They're almost more memorable than the memorable captures.
We've all had them, and whether or not it was just a ray, we will never know.
Yeah, that's right. And who's to say it was a ray? We're with you.
But if you lose it, there's a fair chance your story's not going to say you lost a ray.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to get into this message. I'm going to read it out. I think it's a pisser. Thank you very much for sending it through. And hey, our thoughts are with you. It must have been a hard time. All right, so snapper fishing out of Newcastle, traditionally really tough. And that morning, honestly, I remember it like yesterday, was a bloody honker. Nearly 8:30, been fishing for 2.5 hours for 3 bakers and a rock cod. It was grim. Then, on a specky cast against the drift, heaps weird, I got a hit. Oi, Jacko, I had a snapper hit. Now, it didn't hook up, obviously, but it was undoubtedly a knobby red boy. As soon as those words left my mouth, it came back again and hit with ferocity I'd never anticipated. 15-pound braid and 20-pound leader with regular gauge jig head didn't stand a chance. If you get a snapper out of Newey over 70, you might as well retire. There's no doubt in my mind this was that fish. 10 seconds of line flying off my reel like a North Shore mum heading for a half-price David Jones sale. Absolutely unstoppable, irrational, hell-bent on its target and weirdly angry. I had no chance. My drag was tight. We couldn't move the boat fast enough. It ran straight from the 8-metre reef edge. We were fishing over the 5-metre ledge beside us and down the other side, kissing the top of the reef with my braid and leaving me with nothing but half a spool of line. I couldn't even wind my line in. I just lay down, curled up, and didn't make another cast. It was too much to speak. No words, no therapeutic swears, no rod toss tantrum, a specialty of mine, no tears. I was empty. Jack fished for another 15 minutes or so, neatened up my gear, and drove me back to the ramp. Session over. I'll never forget it. Horrific. Anyway, loving the podcast lately. Hope you're well. It's one of the all-time greatest messages we've ever received on the Deep Drop.
Fantastic story, insanely well written. But do you know what stands out to me, Luke? Apart from the North Shore mum having a crack at a half price mire sale, but the thing that resonates with me most, is it's true heartbreak when you can't even swear.
You can't swear.
When it's just dead silence, and there's nothing more that can be done. That's rough, because, not going to lie, it sounded like it was whatever it was worth seeing. It wasn't a stingray.
No. It was...
it was a good red.
It was a good red. And listen, I don't know the Newcastle area. I don't know. I haven't fished there. Sounds like it's a tough area. So sounds like if you're getting a fish there, you've done well. That adds to it. Adds to it.
Oh, 100%.
You could drop a big snapper in Port Phillip Bay, for example, and go, fuck. But then you could go, I'm probably going to get one in the next half hour.
Yeah. Yeah, or I can go on any given trip and get...
Exactly.
That's rough.
But I don't know if I've had... the way that was written was magnificent. I enjoyed reading that so much.
Who was it? Nick, was it? Did you say?
It was Nick. And
Nick, please, just promise me something, Nick. Every time we throw something out there that requires a story, please hit us up. Because, not going to lie, Luke, I was hanging on every sentence you were saying. I felt it. Yeah. I felt the heartbreak. I felt the heartache, and I also felt the excitement of the initial hookup, which
being
was
curled up on
by
the
all sounds of things.
You know, we've all done that at times.
Your mate packing up around you. So good.
I love the mates just going, I'm just gonna get here and pack up. You stay there.
Yes.
Okay. Just driven him back to the ramp. And his mates fished for 15 minutes and gone, this is too fucking awkward. We can't continue. Yeah.
He probably dropped him off and went back out.
Probably. So there you go. So that story right there epitomises exactly what we were talking about, the most memorable non-capture. That'll be with him for life.
Oh, for sure. Do you know, I think that'll be with me for life, the quality of the story, the way that it was written.
The North Shore mums.
I feel like I was there.
Half-price sale with David Jones is one of my greatest comments I've ever received. That's so good. Oh, dear. Very good. So there you go. So there's a bit of an insight. Anyone listening that hasn't been involved on the on the Instagram sort of, I suppose, engagement, give it to us. You can
just get into it.
Absolutely. Just let it out. Let it. Hey, if you need us to be your sounding board, if you need us to be your,
it's fine.
Your
punching bag, whatever.
Yeah.
Just vent.
Yeah.
Just vent.
You need to vent. We're here. We're here, and we're all here. The entire Deep Drop family would have been along for that ride, I reckon.
For sure.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, hey, just obviously, speaking of Instagram, a few people have reached out and are pretty excited to check out something we did recently, Adam, during the week, actually. which was spend a day on the boat with Andrew Hart filming an episode of Hook, Line and Sinker, which, I mean, I've spoken to you since. We just laughed our asses off, had stupid amount of fun with some great company. I can't wait to see how this turns out. Not necessarily to check us out, but just to see if we look like we're having as much fun as we actually did, mate. It was a blast.
It was an awesome day, and we won't give away too much because I'm sure we'll have to have Hardy on once the episode goes to air, which will be later in the year. But the point was to work out if specific coloured squid jigs mattered. And
yes.
I'll leave it at that because
okay.
we had everything from the favourites to the not so favourites, all of which we've covered on the pod before, and then also there was one very special lure that was found in a very special dump bin, and it was almost a character of its own, the squid jig.
Yeah.
So it was great, and look, the fishing was awesome. We had help from, well, he doesn't really need an introduction, but Lee Rayner was there to drive us around and show us what was happening on Western Port.
I feel like we're in good hands.
Well, we were in great hands. We caught some really nice fish. I really want to talk more about it.
Hey, listen, I just wanted to bring it up. I know we can't go into too much detail. We will as it gets closer and obviously post the show, but there were some highlights apart from just the mucking around and having fun, but all I'm going to say is I think you may have caught one of the biggest particular species on the day that we were chasing, or not, and it was frightening. But there's plenty of listen, when this episode goes to air, shout out to our good friend George there at Complete Angler Dandenong, because that particular dump in squid jig, Adam, might have to go on the shelf at a high price.
It's going to the Hall of Fame.
You might need to get some more. Anyway, but yeah, hey, good fun. So keep an eye out. I believe it's later in the year that the episode actually goes to air. I think the season starts like right at the back end of this year. But obviously we'll communicate when that's coming out, and we'll have Hardy on the show to break it down after it goes to air. I think we need to break it down. And shout out to Andrew Hart. Like, he's been on the podcast before a couple of times. We know how entertaining he is and what a great fisherman in his own right he is. But to give us a call up, ads was pretty cool. It was really cool. It was really cool. And one of the stories that I think we can share, because it happened well after the cameras had stopped rolling, but we managed to go through a day's squid fishing, and we kept the boat, Lee's boat. We kept it in pretty good nick. I mean, everyone good nick.
Everyone who's squid fished before knows that it can get disastrous real quick. We did a pretty good job. There was a kind of a glancing blow right at the end.
Towards the end, but I do feel like Sally Wilson, a big shout out to Sally, who is running the camera there at Hook, Line and Sinker. I think she wore the brunt of it on one of her jackets and Hardy on his pants. So we kind of kept the boat vertical. Clean. Yeah,
it went vertical, and it landed on the hard top and just splashed back, and everyone got a little piece. Like I said, I think Sally wore most of it, but that was kind of
it.
We thought all good, but for those who follow Lee on social media, you'll see what happened right at the very end. So I still maintain it was Lee's fault, because he decided to keep the squid in the live well. So we got back to the ramp, because we kept a few for a feed and we kept a few for some baits, but they were all in the live well, which means they were not just alive, but they were fully recharged. They'd
reloaded.
Yeah. So Lee grabbed out one of the bigger models for the session, which was a bloody good squid, and he handed it. I think Hardy had it first.
Well, I think the idea was we'll get a quick photo before we
that's right.
Dispatch them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Getting photos. So we wanted them all lit up and fired up, which was awesome. Perfect thing to do. And this squid just went Burko. And it showered everything. Hardy handed the squid to me, and honestly, I didn't know what to do. The damage had been done. I kind of half held it out of the boat, but half not.
You didn't hold it out of the boat at all.
It felt like I did.
Well, I think the best way to get a visual on this, I'm pretty sure it's on the Hook, Line and Sinker social pages and probably Lee's as well. But yeah, it was a proper ink explosion.
It was a bath, and it just kept going.
When Hardy had it and was holding it, for some reason, he was just spewing out ink onto the floor, and he didn't move it for some reason. He then handed it to you, which then went from a leak to just a proper explosion of ink, and it just
it kept going. It just kept going. Anyway,
you're right. We'd done so well up until that point.
Yeah, so it was a grim sight in the end, but I thought we'd nailed it. It was actually amazing how clean we kept the boat throughout the session, just to ruin it right at the end.
Well, we did. Well, we thought we did, because I did speak to Lee that night, and there was that vertical ink shot while we were out there that you said hit the hard top, but kind of just dissipated and was okay. Lee said, no, it covered the hard top, which no one could see, so we thought it was fine.
Yes, it did.
So yes, there was but I think apart from that, we kept it really clean.
We did all right,
but. Yeah, we made up for it right at the end.
Right at the end.
Right on red time, in overtime. Which just disaster. Anyway, massive shout out to Andrew Hart, Sally Wilson, and of course Lee Rayner. What an awesome day! It was fresh.
Great day.
The weather was actually really nice. It was cold, obviously, but geez, the forecast of rain and wind just removed itself about a day out, so that was good.
Yep, full glass out at one point, and it was a great day.
Something to be said for dead of winter calamari. There's some good fishing to be had. It's just Port Phillip Bay, Western Port. It's just, to be honest, even offshore, it's just
that's right.
The barrier of the cold, which doesn't affect the fishing. Like I said, if anything, it's ramped up for big models, but it's just getting the mentality of I'm going for a fish today when it is absolutely freezing.
Well, forever, it's kind of been one of the staple things through winter that's got us through, because you don't necessarily need to spend all day waiting for a specific tide or waiting for this. It is something you can do to punch out for a couple of hours and still be every shot at some half decent fishing. So it was awesome. So the conditions couldn't have been better, apart from the temperature being turned up a little bit, but there was no wind, so it didn't
matter. Yeah.
It wasn't unbearable. It was more crisper than it was cold, and it was awesome.
It's just the moment where the boat starts moving, like if you're moving spots or heading back to the marina or whatever, and you just feel that breeze off the water as the boat starts moving. Oof. But we all huddled in and cuddled up under the canopy. But good. Question without notice, knowing, and look, we've spoken about winter fishing in the past, but knowing the size of some of these calamari, knowing the numbers and size, I suppose, of some of the King George whiting in the port and in Port Phillip Bay, and knowing the fishery offshore at the moment for snapper and in the bays too, but I think the winter fishery offshore, again, we've spoken about it being probably a bit underrated. With those three things alone, and I know there's probably more like tuna and whatever, what is your pick of the bunch if you go, I'm going to push through the cold, I'm going to layer up, I'm going to get as many layers as I can on and go and target one of our local winter species? What is it for you? What are you going to do? Because keeping in mind too, I'm going to throw a bit of a spanner, the way you're fishing for them. So there's a bit of sitting around bait fishing for anything.
That's right. I think it would either have to be calamari, or I'd like to say King George whiting, but I haven't done a lot of it in winter. One thing that was I'm not necessarily frothing to do it again, but it's one of the most valuable things, I think, as far as learning goes, that I've ever done. Many years ago, I put in pretty well a full winter, so weather depending, once a week, fishing in Port Phillip Bay for snapper all the way through winter.
Okay.
So out in the deep water, particularly off Mornington, Mount Martha, those sort of ways, that was an eye opener. It was far from red hot fishing. Sometimes we would get at least one most of the time, a couple of donut trips, and I think the best we ever did was maybe 3 or 4. But as far as a learning experience goes for snapper, unbelievable. It is the absolute complete opposite to Port Phillip Bay's summer in-season snapper fishing that I've ever seen. Everything from the baits are different, the bites different, the fish fight completely different, the bycatch is completely different. It was fascinating.
Do you ever chuck a lure around, soft bait or anything like that in winter?
No, well, on that particular time, I didn't, because who I spent that winter fishing with, shout out to you, Rentlow, he doesn't believe in anything artificial unless it's a squid jig. So it was strictly bait fishing. But no, we didn't. And in all seriousness, the reason that we didn't is because the bite window's tiny.
Yeah, gotcha.
If you're not paying 100% attention, because you, at one point on the tide change, at least one rod's going to go.
Okay.
If you don't grab it, it's over. But you might have 3 rods go.
Yeah.
If you don't get it, you've got there's one rack in it. If you don't get it, it's over. It's over. So you had to be switched on. You had to be rotating baits, and Mickey's he's a really active fisherman. He's not, and listen, mind you, for those that don't know, Rentlow, again, shout out to you. What this guy doesn't know about Port Phillip Bay snapper, it doesn't exist. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know about him.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was such a valuable experience because it's so completely different to summer.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. So that's probably one of my fondest memories of winter fishing. But as far as something these days to go and do, probably calamari. And I think solely for the reason that I mentioned earlier, I don't have to spend all day trying to do it.
Yeah. Yep. No, fair enough. Remember Rentlow sculled the bottle of Jim Beam that time? Remember that? Anyway, we don't recommend doing that. Rentlow, if you're listening, shout out. Glad you recovered from that. Yeah, okay. Look, and I guess the thing is too, and as we work our way around the country, there are some, and I know we've spoken about it, there are some legitimate, awesome fishing options this time of year, and it's just, it's a mental battle to get through the cold.
Oh, well, I also want to preface that I don't do anywhere near as much winter fishing as what I always say I'm going to. Because full transparency, I don't know if it's an age thing, because I'm not old, but I'm not exactly young. The cold, Luke, it just eats my motivation. It just eats it.
We've had Aaron Habgood on the show before. I spoke to him earlier today because we're heading away tonight, and he just said, more or less, fuck this shit. I couldn't agree more, and that's all you need to say. That's it.
It's hard. I need someone else there with me. Any solo missions generally end a couple of hours sooner than what they should, because I like having to look around for the brim. I like having to look around for perch in winter, but the issue is, if nothing happens in 2 hours max, I'm out.
I think solo fishing is the easiest form of fishing to find a reason not to fish.
Yeah.
You know,
but
and it can be something as simple as, my legs are a bit wet. That'll do.
Yeah, I may as well go home, but I don't want to get hypothermia. But some people have got this drive that is just, it's just insane. Like, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Andrew Kettler, Luke?
No.
So Andrew, great dude, just low key does his thing. He froths, I'm sure of it, just by seeing what he's doing on socials. I'm sure he froths on winter as much as what he does summer.
Yeah, right.
And it's always something different. Whether it's a gummy in the port or it's EPs here, he's been mucking around with some impoundment bass in the middle of winter. Trout, loves his trout fishing. It's always just salmon off the beach. It's always something different.
Yeah.
But the motivation just runs so strong. I don't have it.
Yeah. I don't. I'm just being honest about it. I don't have that motivation. I'd love to say I did. And don't get me wrong, I've fished so far this winter a bit. So
and same. I've probably fished more this winter than I have the last 3 combined. And it's still like
it's still hard work.
Caught fuck all, but I've got.
I think sessions can end much quicker, even if you're with people. You said about being solo before, but even with people, like you could very quickly look at each other and just go, "Fuck, no, what is this?" And you go, "Yeah, no, let's call it." So that's okay, but I think that you've almost got to factor that into the, shorter days in winter. Well, shorter fishing windows.
Yeah,
that's
it's
the way I see it.
It's weird though. You have a think about what you could actually be doing fishing wise right now, as we record this podcast. What's happening at the moment? We've pretty well got barrel bluefin from essentially Inverloch all the way through to Port Mac.
Yeah.
They'll start to slow down and the school fish will come in. So there's endless fun for those that want to go offshore.
Yeah.
There's salmon all the way up and down the coast, and you know what salmon are like. You can catch none or you can catch 100 in the same session.
On your favourite location, the beach.
The beach. The brim starts schooling up for the winter, so they can be some pretty good fish in there.
Yep.
There's guys lead lining the trout lakes with the Murray cod fishermen. Some of the Murray cod that I've seen come out of places like Eildon and Mulwala, and now some of the New South Wales impoundments are starting to fire up again. I was reading a report from Brett Geddes the other day. Gippsland's fishing really well. There's still swordfish coming in on the days you've got consistent weather windows. There's heaps to do, and I'm looking at all of it going, nah, I'll wait.
Yeah, it's all about the motivation mentally, but I am keen to keep an eye on keeping an ear low to the ground. Is that the saying? Ear low to the ground, whatever.
It is now. Roll with it.
It is now. Roll with it. It's a t-shirt. On the yellowfin tuna on the south coast, or on that New South Wales coast, because I'm really excited to hear about that when and if it happens. I won't say if, when. Let's be positive about it. Which, speaking of various people, it should be really fire up any time in the next month and a half. But looking forward to that, because I think that's a pretty spectacular fishery, and I think it's kind of goes a little bit under the radar these days, which is weird. But we're talking about proper yellowfin on like poppers and stick baits. And
I was going to say the stick bait thing for yellowfin has become really popular in the last couple of years. It would be thinking about that's exciting because it's old but new. There was a few lean years there on the yellowfin for a while.
Yeah,
the world seems right when there's yellowfin up on the New South Wales coast.
Everything seems in place, doesn't it? Just feels right. Hey, let us know, listening, if you are getting stuck into or planning on getting stuck into some of these yellowfin. We want to keep a finger on the pulse. Maybe that's what I tried to say before. Finger on the pulse, ear low to the ground. I don't even know anymore.
I'm happy to roll with it. I don't know. Another thing I'm really interested in, though, Luke, we've heard from quite a few listeners over the last little bit. We've got quite a few listeners that are up on that New South Wales coast heading into Queensland, a few from over in WA. What is the winter specialty for all of these places? Because I am lucky enough to do a little bit of travelling for work. And
you know what it's nearly time for, Adam? Redfin.
Well, I've been keeping a quiet eye.
No, it's not even a quiet eye. You've been loudly talking
on what's
about
been going on with the reddies. And winter is big redfin time.
Okay, well, fucking let's go and do it.
But
it's your
cold.
specialty. You need to map this out for us and work out what we're doing. And get over the cold situation, because if winter is this big reddy special time, then we either doing it or you're just going to shut up about it for the next 2 years.
Well, Luke, I'm gonna give you a job. With what you do for a job, you see all sorts of cool stuff that comes through your office. I need you to keep an eye out for some warm and weatherproof gear for me. Size XL. I need everything from jackets to pants to shoes.
Got you covered.
XL, size 13 foot. Write it down. See what you can rustle up for me, because if I'm warm, I'm happy. Sorted,
locked in. I already know what you need. Let's go do it. All right. Hey, now last week, ads, we spoke about we spoke about top fives. We're moving into the top five area. We've done a top five coolest fish recently, and we got a fair bit of positive feedback about that. We love a bit of a challenge and a bit of a top five, a bit of a rating system. So we said last week, something came up last week. So we decided we'd do top five fishing buzzwords ads. And we put it out there to you on Instagram to create the list. I mean, it's not on us. It's your list. And we want to put it all together and then give it to you. And that's what we're going to do right here. So Adam, it's time to look at our top five for fishing buzzwords.
Okay, bring it on. What do we got?
And listen, this is put together by you guys. Thank you very much for getting involved and creating this list for us. It was great, the amount of feedback. There was some regulars that popped up a lot, some regular words, so they're in here. In fact, quite a few of these are in here simply because repetition of answers. I mean, we can't deny the facts. If that's what you're giving us, that's what's going in the list.
It's the fact. Can't argue with the facts.
That's why redfin was in the top 5 coolest fish.
Correct.
Coolest looking fish. Yeah. If it was up to us, would it have been? Probably not.
It would have just outside the top 5.
But we would have been wrong.
Let's not rubbish the name of the redfin.
I'm not. Okay? I'm not rubbishing it. I'm just suggesting that
I
wouldn't have put it in there. But it was the people. The people had spoken.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into it. So we've got to probably give a bit of context to some of these because, and when you think about, these are probably all, in fact, they're all situations while fishing. So that you hear a lot. You hear it every time. All right. No particular order. First one, head shakes. You approve of that?
I approve because I reckon every time I'm not sure what it is that I've hooked, the one thing you are looking for specifically are the head shakes, and it's one of those words you don't necessarily think you're saying out loud.
Yeah,
but you are, because the whole time running through your head, you're like, it's not a stingray, it's not a banjo, it's not and then you get the run slows and a couple of good head shakes. It makes you think I'm onto something decent.
I feel like fishing, bottom fishing or reef fishing, sort of offshore or inside, for fish like snapper or those demersal type species, these where you solid head shakes.
Yeah, solid head shakes.
So that's good. I mean,
that's
I like
a good
that.
one. Yeah, it's a
all right, ads. Next one, I'm on.
I'm on.
I'm on.
It doesn't need explanation. No. I think an example I gave last week was just, yep, it's the equivalent to I'm on.
It's the same.
It means I'm on.
Yeah.
Has got to be in there.
It's got to be in there. It's in there.
No, yeah, got to be in there.
Popped up a couple of times, so you can't lie. Next one, game changer.
Game changer. The good thing about game changer,
there's so much good about it.
Yeah, I think the key with game changer is it doesn't need to be a game changer if it's a game changer. You could be having just an absolute dog of a day where nothing is working, and all you need is one thing to hit, whether it be putting scent on something, whether it be changing the lure, whether it be lightening a leader, whether it be burley, whatever it is. But that tiny little thing that you've done very quickly becomes a game changer. You may never, ever resort to the game changer again.
No. But at that moment,
that
flies out of your mouth is that was a game changer.
100. Game changer comes up a lot when you're breaking down the trip in the car on the way home.
Yeah, game changer.
That was a game changer. I like it.
Yeah. Maybe it's popped up in other formats that I'm thinking of as well. But all right, next, and this one this is this. No, I was going to say this is just in particular applications, but no, it's probably relevant for all. But you hear it a lot. Color.
Yeah, color. So color generally,
and a lot of it's especially deep water fishing.
Yeah, well, colour is generally the war cry of the angler on the rod. And it's code for everybody put down what you're doing and fucking pay attention. It means make sure the deck's cleared, make sure someone's holding a net and or gaff, and everybody is focused on making sure that we don't muck this up.
If you translate the word colour in that situation, it is translated to, if you've got the net, be ready and don't fuck this up.
Correct. Colour means
it's a warning.
Everybody needs to be where they need to be. And if anyone steps a foot out of line, this capture or this loss of is on you. So pay attention and don't fuck this up for me. That's what this means. When you say you've got colour, it means everybody just relax and finish this off. It's game time.
I love that. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly. All right, to round out the top 5 fishing buzzwords, we've got simply, and this one popped up a number of times, ads, donkey.
It's a donkey.
It's a donkey. So, reference to a big fish, I guess. And look, there are a few, I suppose, versions of that we've heard in, special mention to stonker and horse. But donkey gets thrown around a lot.
It does. Oh, it's a donkey.
Yeah.
It's
which is weird because a donkey's not the biggest animal in that sort of mammal type,
Yeah, that's right.
Species.
I wonder why it landed on donkey. I'm pretty sure I've got a fair idea, but I'm not gonna go there, Luke, because I think you all know what I'm saying. But we'll go with donkey. It has a reputation.
Yep.
Even though it's not the biggest animal, it might have the biggest. So this is where I think it comes from.
Yeah. Okay.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. No. That's a fair assumption. It's a fair assumption. If you've been on a farm,
you know.
All right. Top 5 fishing buzzwords. In no particular order, we landed on head shakes, I'm on, or yep. Game changer, colour, and donkey.
I'm pretty happy.
That's not bad. Yeah,
is there any that are missing? Like, is there anything that you would have thought would have been in there, but it's not?
I think one I hear get thrown around a lot, and I reckon it's flathead fishing the most. Adam is big girl. Oh, it's a big girl.
Yeah, big girl. Gummies.
Gummies. Gummies. Yeah, you're right. It's a big girl.
It's a big girl.
Oh, it's a big girl. Oh, she's beautiful. Let's let the big girl go.
Yeah, sharks. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, big girl's a good one. It's a good one. I had just a very simple, just whether it's striking on a snag or getting busted off or just a simple fuck. But
but that's not a that's a
it's not a buzzword.
Nah.
It's more of a feeling.
It's a feeling
than a word. Yeah.
Oof. It's completely relevant and fair. Yeah. All right. Well, no. Look, I think I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with the 5.
But don't let us. Don't let that stop you. If you've got any others that aren't there and you see this pop up on Instagram, give us a comment. Tell us what you think. Ads, the other thing that's happening on Instagram at the moment, and we've spoken about this for the last couple of months. We're having a lot of fun with some of the videos that we get sent through to do a bit of a reaction to and ads. I've got to say, I really enjoy doing this stuff. I think it's funny.
So I enjoy watching it.
I'm loving the feedback from people. I've run into people from time to time who go, "Oh, saw your head pop up on Instagram the other day. Geez, that whatever." Actually, I had it the other day, ads, and someone said, "Oh, that burley feeder was awesome," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, I want to get one.
We just got to go to market with that."
Yeah. But then I don't know if you saw the latest one. It was one of the most satisfying videos I've ever seen. It was simply this short clip. Someone sent it to me. Apologies, I can't remember who it was. And it was just this octopus sitting on a reef. And this fish just swam relatively close to it, not super close. And the octopus gave one of the greatest left hooks to this fish and just punched it clean in the face. That was satisfying. I liked it.
You know what? Sometimes, not just with people, but sea life too, just need to be left alone.
Yeah.
And when you're having a bad day, you're having a bad day.
Mm.
And I think that octopus was having a bad day.
What do you reckon happened? Do you reckon it might have got hooked or netted or something and it's just gone, fuck off? Or the divers that were clearly filming it were just shitting it?
Yeah, maybe it just it woke it up from a kip, or more importantly, it was probably trying to have a feed and the divers jumped in and spooked off, said feed, and it's just had enough. So rather than trying to eat the fish, you just thought, you know what, I'm just going to punch anything that moves past right now.
And didn't even look. It was just one of those ones where it just reached out and just punched it in the face without even looking.
But anyway, or it was just being annoying, going, I can do this.
I can do this, so I will.
And sometimes you just got to remind people what can be done.
And it might have really embraced the fact there was a camera in its face and just going, I'm going to just put one, one out here and just show the people at home what we're capable of. As you and I have spoken about, we're not far away from being completely overrun by octopus, squid, any sort of animal like that. If they can start breathing air, we're all absolutely cooked.
Oh, we're done.
It might have been a warning shot. You come near me.
Just a reminder. And it's like, I only used one. Like I've got 7 more of these bad boys.
I love it. Anyway, so keep them coming. I literally, as we were recording this, have just received 3 more that I haven't looked at yet. So I love it. So apologies if you've sent them through and I haven't seen them pop up yet. I'll get around to it eventually. We've got a big couple of weeks coming up, ads. Plenty happening in the fishing space, which is really, really exciting. All sorts of new lure development and product development going on in the lead up to the After Trade Show in a couple of months' time. So we'll obviously do a bit of a roundup or wrap up of the trade show post the event. And I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in. We've seen some big reel launches this year so far. There are a bunch of cool new lures on their way. And I've seen some out of your stable, my friend, that I'm pretty excited about too.
A bit happening.
I mean, you can't get sick of lures, can you?
Nah, never.
We were just saying, just off air, just before we started recording, we started talking about lures, and before we knew it, I think it was about 25 minutes ago, and we're just talking lures. I just am a proper lure junkie. My name's Luke, and I've got a problem. I love lures. They're
the most fun thing in fishing, the actual lures. Because the whole thing about a lure, you look at it and go, oh, what can I do with this? Or what can I do with that? Oh, that's got to work.
Is this going to be my next lure that I put on the mantelpiece? Because, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I look at them and go, this could be my new fave. It all depends on how it goes today.
Have you ever got into collecting lures?
Well, yes, but
no, officially.
No, I know what you mean. No, I would like to, and I wish I did it more from early on. I was up with the Rapala boys earlier in the year, and Tim Morgan, who you work for, who runs Rapala Australia, has got a cabinet in his office of lures that he's won brim tournaments and various tournaments with, and dating back a fair way, not saying Tim's old, but dating back to early sort of versions of, hard body lures that we see today. And some of them are, banged up, and some of them have no paint left at all, but they're obviously the ones that he kept going back to.
Yeah.
And the cabinet is cool. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool to look at and go, oh, remember using that one in, dominating brim on that or whatever. So I wish I did a bit more of that, actually.
Yeah, I've sort of thought about it on and off over the years. There's some lures that you're just naturally drawn to, going down the path of just trying to just collect every colour. Because I wonder going forward, what's going to be the new Tassie Devil? Or I'm talking like the one the collectors just lose their minds for. Like you can see there's old Tassies that just go for crazy amounts of money. We've seen it with Stump Jumper. We've seen it with all of these different iconic lures over the years.
Yeah.
I wonder.
But even that, what's going to be the next or the new we've probably been saying that for 40 years. Tassie just won't give up.
Oh no,
what I mean?
I think they'll always be, I guess, a collector's dream. But I wonder if there's a lure that we've only seen 12 months ago, or maybe there's a lure that we haven't seen.
Oh, I
yet.
see.
You know what I mean? I wonder if there's going to be a lure that's just that becomes such an iconic part of
timeless.
Fishing. Yeah, that people are going to look back on and go, yeah, I remember that. I've got.
I don't want to throw it out there too early without us having a production meeting, ads. But geez, that's almost another top 5, like timeless lures, isn't it?
Write it down. We're going to have to tackle that next week, I think.
All right. Because there's some, and you don't. We won't name any now. Let's save it. But Jesus, I mean, and talk about one for the people to get involved in.
Yeah.
Top 5 timeless lures. I reckon there'll be 1, 2. I reckon there's going to be. You know what? There might be 5 that are just reoccurring, highly voted. But there's some that you just think of without even thinking. So I think it's a great point. And is the turnover in, reproduction of lure styles, lure colours and all that making it hard now for there to be a timeless lure, if that makes sense? Like, some of the ones that are like, the old traditional favourites are kind of old traditional favourites because they just haven't changed for so long and nor have they needed to.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think maybe... Well, they're also, back when those iconic lures that we've just spoken about were around, there just wasn't the choice. So,
no, and I think that's...
They were they were the standout among the choice that was there. I mean, there's just so many standout lures these days. You can, whatever form of fishing you're into, you can find something that's just this goated lure of whatever you want to do. But I've thought about it over the years with things like squid jigs. It would be cool to have a framed thing of, say, your favourite squid jig, and you just try and find every colour. Just try and find something like it. Or what else have I thought about it with? I have thought about it with the original Rapalas, trying to find some of the original colours like the minnow, and you've obviously got your brown and rainbow, perch, brook trout that are all still available, but going to find some of those older renditions of colours that maybe aren't done. Or
have you been? I don't know if you've managed to get over to visit the OG Rapala in Europe. I just feel like there'd be there might not be. I feel like there would be a museum there that would be worth visiting.
there would have to be. I remember Worsling's been over there and seen it, and some of the history he was talking about with Rapala lures and how it started. Even just in our office in Queensland, there's some pretty cool. Just you see some of the lures and go, I remember seeing them. At the time, I had no idea what they were. I had no idea what they did. But you see them in there's a big stand in the office, which is essentially like a perspex type thing with all of these different lures in their ranges in single colours, so they're like schools. I can't even... next time I'm up there, I'll have to take a photo of it because it's so friggin' cool.
It is cool. It's great. Let's get a photo sent down so we can post it online if they'll allow it. But yeah, I think that's a good one to I'd love to talk through that. I think there's some, there's just some household names
because I think we have had some fairly recently that I think will go down in history as best in class for specific species.
Yeah, gotcha.
But we'll
But I don't
we'll have a
mind it.
chat
I
about
don't mind the collection. If anyone's got a collection of a particular style, or whatever, I'd love to see it or hear about it. Hit us up on Instagram.
Send your photos in.
Yeah, well, and look, we won't share them if you don't want us to. Like if you might have some, highly sought after Tassie or Stumpy or something, we won't share it if you don't want us to. I personally think it's really cool. I'd love to check it out. We'll touch on this again in another episode
Next week. 100%. I reckon I know of a couple of people where there's a couple of collections. I'll see if I can get some photos because it's just when they look presented together, it looks so good.
Yeah, and I know you might be thinking, it's a bit, bit nerdy, a bit sort of, what?
Nah, it's the best. This is what we do.
This is what we do.
It's so good.
It is. Anyway, I'm gonna get. I feel like getting a collection going now. What should I start? What should I start collecting?
I don't know. I've got an idea on what I'm gonna start with. I'll have a chat to you off air, and then I'll start putting it together.
I reckon Die Hard blue water fishos would have a cool. I'd like to think that they're laser pros or X-Wraps that they get chewed up by tuna and mackerel and stuff.
Yeah, there'd be some trophy
keep them
there. Yeah, the arse is ripped out of them and like the wire through's all bent out. Yes.
Yeah, and they're just bitten in half and just by a wahoo or something. You just you wouldn't throw that out.
Nah, that's trophy material.
Yeah. All right, let's get into that and more next episode. Adam, thank you very much. We've had fun again. Like I said, stick around. The Deep Drop on Instagram is where you can find us. The deepdrop.au is where you'll find us online for all the episodes and information about that. Plus some new cool stuff coming soon. Just that's a bit of a teaser maybe. But get in touch. Spotify, you can get involved there too. There's all sorts of avenues to give us your thoughts on that too. It's really open for engagement now, Ads. There's no reason why you can't bloody... Hey, if you want to write us a letter, go ahead.
Do it.
You can do whatever you want. But keep listening. Share it with your friends. Tell the world about the Deep Drop because we're not stopping, Ads, and we are having a ball. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Peace.